I'm Rex Hallbison, and this is a recorded message to the executives in the solar industry. So if you're an executive manager, a sales professional, someone who is in ownership, this message is for you. And I don't care what size of an organization that you are. This is a very important pivot point that's happening in the industry right now. That catalyst is ITC. People are starting to rethink things. So who's Rex? Why would you listen to me? Some of my friends call me Shrek's round head. My kids have sometimes referred to me as Mr. Potato Head. So why would you listen to Mr. Potato Head? Well, let me give you a little bit of my background and some perspective. I come out of the tech industry, hardware, software, professional services. My expertise is bringing new products to the marketplace, whether it's B2B or B2C. In that 35 and a half years of experience, I learned a lot, but I've learned how to bring things to the marketplace. So hence, I'm one of the co-founders and I serve as the CEO of Smart Energy Solutions, and that's what we do. When I jumped into energy back in 2021, I jumped in 100%. I started a podcast that used to be called Energy Advisors. It's now morphed into Energy Catalysts. On that program, sometimes people call me Rex at Energy Guy. And probably less important is I'm an author of 4 books. I speak. One of the books is very popular in the consumer space, and it's a book called Energy Savings Catalyst, and it is basically a buyer's guide and an instruction, a reference guide on how to buy 10 to 12 different technologies to impact the energy in your home. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Enough of that. Here's what I want to talk to you about today. And this video might be a little bit rough because it was literally hey, I got to get this out to industry peers because I had something that was a great conversation this week that really was a catalyst for me. Okay, back in 2021, again, I came out of tech, hardware and software, so I didn't have a focus on one particular technology. And when I looked at this marketplace, I'm like, wow, there's a lot of things you could be selling to somebody. It's not just solar. I mean, solar is way cool, but it's not just solar. So my perspective in the marketplace back in 2021 and looking at this very quick as an analyst is, hey, solar HVAC and now the addition of some conservation technologies are going to merge into one industry. Okay. And it's not just coming, it's here. Okay. Because ITC has caused us to take a look at what are we doing? How do we pivot? How do we transform ourselves? So back in 21, I thought it was going to take a decade or more, but we have this great pivot point. And because of ITC and Trump's big, beautiful bill, things are changing. And it's impacting both parts of this industry, the HVAC side and the solar side. So I'm going to say some things today that might be a little controversial, and I might be poking some of you in the eye. But if you're not paying attention to this convergence, you're looking in the wrong direction. Sure, we might be sprinting to the end of the ITC, and it might be a cliff that is 180 days, or it might be a drawdown in a couple years. But again, let's face it, ITC is over. We're getting rid of government subsidies in this industry. Now, I think that's good, but I'm not going to get into that topic. That is a video for another day or a discussion for another day. But what I'm here to talk to you about is analysts, people like myself, industry leaders, folks over at Wood Mackenzie, all kinds of folks are saying, hey, listen, to go through this pivot point with ITC dying, people are going to need to diversify. They're going to need to add more solutions. They're going to need to be thinking differently. So I'm going to say this right up front, okay? If you are a solar-only company, you are on the path to extinction, okay? That model's dead. All right. The side of the industry that's going to win and is better positioned is HVAC. And let me explain why. Okay. An HVAC company, these guys have been around for decades. All right. They own customers. They are really good at a few things that solar aren't so good at. They know how to do service contracts. So they'll come out and check your furnace a couple times a year. They live and die a lot in break and fix business. And then they add on new solutions. So they're out there working with customers and they know how to fix things. And you know what? I need a warranty replacement, roll a truck. I need an additional this or that, roll a truck. So they keep their businesses alive on a services model, something solar doesn't do. The other thing that's great about the folks in HVAC and why they have a leg up is the fact that they tend to concentrate in smaller market areas. So their costs are smaller, okay? Their cost of customer acquisition is down. They have a necessary solution, not something that's interesting. So if your furnace is out and it's 10 below, they're going to be there, all right? If the AC is out and it's 105 degrees, they're going to be there. So they're already having conversations that people need in every single day. Another thing that they really understand is being close to their customers. These companies frequently are decades old. You have situations where grandpa started the company way back and when, handed down to the son and then the grandson, and in some cases now the great grandson. When you look at what's been happening in that sector of the energy technology industry, there's been a lot of roll up. There have been private equity companies that have been grabbing these companies and consolidating and bringing them into a big family. Well, guess what? They won't consider purchasing an HVAC company unless it's at least 20 years old. So they've got this track record. Now, let me bring some interesting statistics to the table for you to understand, to take a little different look at this. I love the old quote by Dr. Wayne Dyer that says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So let's look at the industry. Now, statistics show that there's 11,000 solar companies out there. Well, that's depend on who's still open. Now, when you compare that to HVAC, there are 117,000 companies. When you look at the distribution and concentration, and we did analysis of how many HVAC companies are there per household, so what would they serve, did the same thing for solar, and it's remarkable, and this adds to the story. In the United States, on average, there are, for every 930 households, there's one HVAC company. When you cross over to solar, for every set of households for a solar company, it's 12,000 for every solar company. Now, the message is we need all of us, okay? But the point is there's 10 times, at least 12 times more HVAC companies. And what they've learned how to do is work smarter, and they work in smaller markets. So they've got the advantage, okay? Understanding the service models, repetitive business, keeping the doors open with service. It's a big difference there. Now, 2021, when I looked at this, the reason I said, wow, this is going to merge is because you look at the skill sets. All right, let's look at both of these companies, and there's a common ground. Well, first of all, I got a salesperson that knows how to talk about energy. That's on both sides. Okay. Next, I've got a master electrician because I got to pull permits and I need to have somebody that connects this stuff together, because at the end of the day, we're just moving electricity around, right? Both sides. And of course, they've got technicians, the guys that pull the solar panels up to the top of the roof and the guys that pull the AC units to the back of the house. It's the same skill set. So this is why it makes sense, because it's going to be very, very easy for an HVAC company to add in solar, okay? Where it might be a more difficult transition for solar to add these other products and become HVAC. But I'm going to tell you, if you haven't bought a HVAC company, if you haven't merged with one, if you haven't aligned with one, or you don't have plans to extend your energy offerings, you're a walking dead man, solar. And that's hard for me to say because I love this industry. That's where I started in this industry. But you're a walking dead man if you're not utilizing the same resources and providing more solutions. You see, the customers want one voice. They want one conversation, and they're getting smarter. They don't want to have 5 different companies working on this. They don't want a solar guy over here and a heat pump guy over there and a storage guy over here and a phase change guy over there or optimizer. They want one. Okay. So that's where it's headed. And you have a chance to jump and be in a leadership position. So what you need to look at, our friends in solar, is you need to have a diversified portfolio. Like I've said before, one and done solar is it. If you're just a solar only company, and we include storage in that, you're a dead man walking. So ITC is not the issue, okay? Doesn't matter when that cliff comes off. What your real issue is who's your real competitor? Who's going to own that customer? All right. Think about it. These HVAC guys, they already own your customers already when you show up to sell solar. Guess what's going to happen? They're going to add solar in, and now they're going to take that customer away because they've already got a relationship. Now, some of this was validated to me a little bit because I've been talking to a lot of industry analysts and consultants. But last week, I recorded an episode with the president of the Americas, Carrie Hayes, for REC Group. You know, Carrie Hayes has been in the industry since 2004, an industry original guy, great stories. You need to listen to that podcast episode when it releases on July 1st. But the main thing we talked about is what the trends are going to be in this industry. And he validated some things that we've been researching. And he said, listen, the solar industry, it's come to the conclusion, is going to be run by lots of small companies in small market areas. It's going to be people like the HVAC companies, all right? Or it's going to be someone who's very, very large. There isn't going to be much room in the middle. It'll be very hard to succeed. So if you're trying to straddle and do 8 or 10 markets and you only have one product, your cost of sales too high, your operational costs are too high, it's just not going to work. So where this industry is headed is exactly what we talked about, is what I call, and called this back in 2021, is you can become, and you should transform yourselves into an energy technology systems integrator. You need to be that one voice. All right. See, solar doesn't quite understand that. I mean, I'm a football guy. At one time, I put a football helmet on this chrome dome, and my boys played ball, and they were great. But if you look at the analogy to football, solar is the Dak Prescott. Sorry, Cowboy fans. One and done. Get to the playoffs. They play one game and they're gone. And that's what you do. And let me explain something about a quick item on this break fix business. So, to do this analysis, we ran out and we talked to several hundred homeowners. So, people who've already purchased solar. And guess what? You know how many times they've been talked to since they got a permission to operate? Not once. Not once. But guess how many of them need help? Oh my goodness, it was 97%. They needed an inverter warranty swapped out. They might want new panels. They were looking for storage. They're looking for additional solutions. They would still have a electricity bill and a solar bill. So they're trying to figure out how to close that gap. So it's really an opportunity because that break fix business is out there. And because all of your competitors in your marketplace left these customers behind and they have nowhere to call, it's an entire business in break fix. And that's the way you start to transition over to being more like an HVAC company. Now, during this interview with Carrie Hayes, we were talking about lots of things. And again, I recommend you listen to that because Carrie has some very unique perspective. He's one of the only executive, and I think he is the only executive at his level at product companies who actually sold solar. He was out knocking doors, and he also was the original guy, the OG in Costco, selling solar inside of Costco. So great story. But anyway, his perspective was this: is the fact that this industry is going to continue to change, and the technology is going to continue to change. If you think the technology is going to be the same in 5 or 10 years, you're crazy. Look at the iPhone. Came out in 2007. iPhone 1, 8 gigabytes of storage, 2 megabytes of camera. Well, don't think like you can just put solar panels on somebody's roof. You know what an iPhone 16 you can configure now? 2 terabytes of storage in that camera is 48 megapixels. That's going to continue to happen. And so you need to be the person who's positioned that no matter what the technology is, you need to be an ETSI. You need to own the customer. You need to be the person that is that one voice that they talk to. So you get it. Okay, I don't have to harp on this. but you need to be prepared. And if you're not in a position to align or acquire an HVAC company, you darn sure need to be able to start protecting your customer base. Because think about it. Once Kerry Hayes and his buddies in the product side of this industry figure out, and we talked about this, that there are 117,000 HVAC companies with the same skill set. Once they pivot and start talking to those guys, it'll be an easy add-on for solar. Could be game over. Okay. So that's the message. You need to really take a look at this. Why this accelerated, because I thought it was going to take 10, 12 years, is actually the ITC. It has people rethinking things. Now, that's gone. Your existential threat is who is your competitor? Okay. Who's going to own the customer? If you're not going back to your existing customer base and selling them additional add-ons and additional solutions, guess who's going to get your customers? The HVAC companies, and they're not going to give them back. So my message is this. What we do at Smart Energy Solutions is we bring to the marketplace new technologies, and specifically in energy. So we out there do research, we find new products, we bring them to the marketplace, we package them up, and we make it easy. So my message to you is we've got some technologies, and the first one that's ready to roll, it's a 20-year-old technology developed at the utility level scale, made its way into the oil fields and then into the restaurants and small business, over 150,000 installations. It's called an electricity optimizer, and essentially what it's doing is addressing power factor, which isn't that big of a play with residential, but it does mitigation of harmonic distortion. So in typical residential installations, you'll see between 10, 15, 20, and sometimes 25 reduction, 25% or 10 to 20 to 25% reduction in electricity consumption. It reduces it. So then hence it cuts costs. So it's a perfect solution. If you have a customer base and you've sold thousands of installs, this is a great way to go back and talk to these people and say, hey, listen, I've got a solution for you. Help you save more money. Maybe fix that dual bill gap situation. And it's an opportunity for you as a solar provider to gain new customers. Imagine this. You ever had somebody cancel a contract because they couldn't install? And during that period, they have those buyer's remorse because these don't require a permit. Installed the next day. It can be sold and installed year round. It's essentially installed at the electrical control panel. So again, it's a great solution. It's one of many that we have teed up because we do the research, we bring it to the marketplace, and we've made this easy. Because of my experience, I understand you just can't put a new technology out there. So we did business in a box. We put everything together. We have online training classes, online certifications. We have all the tools, customer-facing materials that's in your brand, logoed videos for your customers, soup to nuts. So if you want to add this to your portfolio and start that transition adding additional services, this is a great solution. Think about it though. This is what I want to make sure you understand. If you don't go back with additional solutions, these guys are going to steal your customers. And if you're an HVAC guy listening on the other side, do you know how easy it's going to be to add solar? Okay. So I'm not trying to create panic, but you can't run to the end of ITC and then decide what to do. Okay. And a lot of people are looking at diversification. Oh, what do I add? Well, maybe I do windows, or maybe I do roofing, and I don't want to offend our roofing friends that do both roofing and solar, but these types of technologies, and gosh, we've seen people even doing turf. Okay. It's a different skill set. A guy selling windows is different than a guy that's selling electricity. A guy selling, you can name all these technologies. So this is the logical approach. So what we have here for people in solar is an awesome bridge technology. Buys you some time to start to aggregate and put together these other skill sets, and allows you to reposition yourself. So we put all this content. We have a Patreon that's going up, ETSI Patreon account. You'll love it. All the content's there. You can access it at your pace. It is business plans to marketing materials, training, everything. It's in this Patreon account. It'll be up here about the 6th of July, 6th or 7th of July. So you can go to one place, hop in, take a look, have that. And plus, we're going to be doing industry news updates every 2 to 3 times a week. So you don't have to go read and research. We'll just be providing this. So what we're trying to do is help you make it so there's a quick transition. If you'll take one of your executives and focus on this very quickly for just a few weeks, you can migrate into this, raise lots of sales and increase your revenue, start new opportunities. And oh, by the way, it's a working, functionally part of your system. Want to make sure it is ITC qualified before the deadline? Go install it the next day, and now you have a working portion of your system. So you can gain extension on that permitting time. So it's an important time in our industry. We're going to bring other solutions to the table, but you can't be a sole product company anymore. It just won't work. And if you think so, you're walking dead, right? You're just deciding how big is your coffin. I don't mean to offend you. If you think I'm crazy, you can tell me I'm crazy. You can call me Mr. Potato Head. It doesn't matter. But I've been there. I've done that. I've got the technology t-shirts. And remember, everything now has software with it. You can hardly do anything without AI. And so this industry is going to continue to evolve. So at the end of the day, we're moving electrons around, and it's all hardware and software. So you've got this. It's straightforward. You can make this very easy transition. And oh, by the way, if you're an HVAC company, you can also make this transition quickly into solar, because guess who's going to come calling? Kerry Hayes and some of his peers. They're going to take a look and say, there's 117,000 companies that already own a customer relationship. They're local. They understand the needs of that community. They speak the local community and understanding. And oh, by the way, they have the same skill set as our friends in solar. So what's going to happen when they all do that? Who's going to own the customer? That's the real question. So yeah, you can focus on ITC changes and the sprint to whatever that is. But if you don't start diversifying, there just isn't any other thing that's going to happen. You're on a path to extinction. So get in touch with me. My team can help. We've got great technology. It's proven. It's a great business model. And these optimizers for residential start as low as, depending on how you want to price them in your market, $2,000, $2,500. Very impactful. So get with us. We'll help you get going. We'll help you on a migration. We'll help you use this as a bridge technology as you decide what your portfolio is going to look like, if you're going to be the winner or if you're going to be the guys that are left out in the cold. So I'm going to make it easy, and we'll engage you in any type. I'm going to leave you my email address. It's rex@gosmart.energy. So real quick, rex@gosmart.energy. So if you reach out to us, we'll help you get going. We'll help you start to look at things a little bit differently. Instead of just a one transaction, what if you started looking at your total cost of sales and also the cost of attention? One of the biggest problems we have in solar is it's a very expensive customer acquisition. We sell them something once and then we're gone. Okay. You can't do that anymore. The customers are getting smarter. The technology is moving faster. And you know what? When the technology moves faster, you have an opportunity for constant upgrades and innovation. You have an opportunity to be constantly in touch with them. So thanks to AI, virtual assistants, we're going to teach you how to do these things so you can stay in contact with those customers, offer new solutions, hyper CRM focus, hyper training and education focus. So together we can do this. Now, I'm not bastardizing and complaining to anybody. We need everybody. We need the entire industry. There are not enough solar companies out there to help people through the energy transition. I'm passionate about it. You can see I do all this crap, write books, podcast, run a company. So it's important that we work together. And if those who want to diversify and thrive, you can literally future proof this business of yours. Because the reason why I know you can is IBM. All right. People don't understand IBM is the most successful technology company of all time. They started in 1911. And you know what they started selling in 1911? It sure heck wasn't computers or AI or quantum computing. They started selling scales. Then they started selling typewriters and cash registers. Then it went to mainframe computers. Then it went to mini computers, the AS400 platform. Then it went to PCs and more software companies. And now it's migrated clear up to AI, quantum computing, and they'll be there next time. And you know why? They do two things correctly. They know how to keep a relationship with a customer, and they know how to pivot every time there is a new solution. So you can look it up. The data is there. They're bigger than anybody's revenue and collectively over 114 years. So how would you like to be able to hand your business as a energy technology systems integrator over to your kids and your grandkids, because this business isn't going away? So I'm bullish. There's never been a better time to be in renewables. There's never been a better time to be an ETSI. If you're an EPC, you got a new acronym. Instead of being an EPC, you can be an ETSI, and you could be the leaders in this industry. So that's what I got to say today. Get in touch with us. We want to help. We're passionate about this. And like I said, we got more technology coming. Thanks to my podcast, I find a lot of interesting stuff. And you know what? There's 12 different technologies that you could be selling to your customers that have an impact on energy. So I'll close out my rant for the Saturday and let you know I appreciate you. We want to work with you. We see you as peers. We need everyone. And so if we all do this, if we all migrate to this energy technology systems integrator approach, it's going to change the industry. It's going to make adoption rates go through the roof. We have to change. Can't continue to do it this way. And do listen to that episode, because Carrie brings an interesting point about pricing in Europe compared to the United States and compared to Australia. It'll knock your socks off. So until next time, I will say what I always say whenever I'm talking to anybody: make it a great day, because if you do, tomorrow can be even greater. So this is Rex Hall Bison, Rex, that energy guy. Thanks. Make it a great day.